Reddit tree presents paranormal activities. First event. The thing in the stairwell. The house I grew up in had always been in my family, it still is. It was built sometime in the late 1800s for my great, I don't know how many greats, Aunt Elizabeth. She lived in it until she passed away in her 90s, sometime in the 60s I think. The house sat empty for a few years, then a family member asked my parents if we would like to live in it. I was 6 when we moved in. My mom, dad, brother, and myself. It was dusty AF and smelled like old books. I love that smell. It didn't have carpet but had dusty old quilts nailed to the floors. Elizabeth had made them and she was blind. The fabrics were whatever she had stitched together. Not pretty, just functional. There was a mostly unfinished attic upstairs. From the day we moved in until the day I moved out in 1995, the upstairs made the hairs on my arms stand up. Even just thinking about it right now I have goosebumps. When you came up the stairs you entered an open room that was in the center of the house. It was finished in thin walls that felt like barely more than cardboard. There was 2 windows with seats in the front and back. To the sides, where the roof would go down to the edge of the house, were doors. The first time I went up there was with my dad and I was 6. He opened one of the doors and I saw rolls of, I guess, quilts. I remember thinking they were bodies rolled up. The room terrified me. I felt like something was in there that hated me. My dad nailed the door shut and we never opened it again the entire 15 years we lived there. The room on the other side was always used for storage. My brother and I shared a bedroom. Our parents didn't want us upstairs since it was unfinished. They closed and locked the door that led to the stairs. That door was in the corner of our bedroom. It stayed locked unless my mom needed something. The first night there it sounded like someone was walking slowly up and down the stairs. And whispering. Always whispering. At first I couldn't tell what was being said and I thought it was my parents in their room. After a while I discovered it was from the stairwell and whatever it was saying things like, the girl hears. The girl sees. The girl knows we're here. The girl can't come in. Punctuated by my name. It was so scary. My brother said he didn't hear it. Personally I think he was a liar. The knob used to turn all the time. It was usually a slow wiggle but sometimes it turned fast back and forth and the door shook like someone wanted out of there. I told my dad and he said old houses settle. My first memory of something happening outside of the stairs is kind of fuzzy time-wise. I may have been 8 or 9. But I remember it involved a puppet my brother had received for Christmas. It was Animal from the Muppets. We had bunk beds and mine was on the top. We used to hang blankets on the sides and pretend the beds were a big RV and we'd go on long drives. So this night the blankets were hanging on the bed. My brother had fallen asleep and I was looking at a comic book. I thought I heard him moving around so I thought I'd scare the crap out of him real fast. I eased myself down the side of the bed and peeked in to see where he was. I peered in and that puppet was hanging by its arms directly in front of him on the other end of the bed. Its head was flopped down. My brother was laying there completely still staring at the puppet, wide-eyed. I looked at him for a bit, thinking he looked really weird. So I then looked at the puppet. The head was no longer flopped down, it was staring right at me. Like making eye contact. Then it winked. And smiled, those teeth, the plastic ones that we always play bit each other with, they weren't looking so plastic right now. Then the head flopped back down. You saw it too? He asked. I sure did. We got rid of Animal right then. Tapped his whole head shut with duct tape and put him in a trash bag, then to the outside trash where our dad would burn him the next day. We thought we were smart. Don't worry, he doesn't come back. LOL. A few weeks go by and we're back to just doorknob wiggles, normal old house settling. My brother and I had got some old toys from a relative that lived down the street. They were awesome toys from the 60s. Old G.I. Joes, rubber band guns, and really cool old train set with big metal tracks. We played with it a lot. Then it was bedtime and we took apart the tracks so the floor was clear. We leaned them against a wooden box that we put the trains in, the sharp end of the tracks sticking up in the air on the side of the bed. I had just fallen asleep on my top bunk when I heard the doorknob. It was really going tonight. Then it stopped suddenly and the room grew cold. I heard someone /thing whisper my name. It was not my brother. Then bam. I was shoved hard from behind and knocked off the top bunk straight for those metal train tracks. I seriously thought I was going to die on them. But right when I got about halfway down I felt like I was being lifted up by something warm and soft. I was put right back in my bed where I was suddenly so tired I couldn't hold my eyes open. I heard a low hum and the weird sleep. I got up the next morning and went out to see my mom making pancakes in the kitchen. I was telling her all about the weird dream I had. Right when I got to the part about something catching me, my brother came in. He said it wasn't a dream. He had watched the entire thing. He said he woke up right as I was falling off the bed and out of nowhere a big hand was suddenly there and caught me. He said the hand patted him too and told him to sleep, and he did. Best sleep ever. After that the house was pretty quiet for a few years. Until I had a sleepover when I was 11. Then stuff amped up again. Voices calling me. Things scratching my arms and face in the night. Doors slamming. And the unexplainable cold. Getting shoved. There were a few super terrifying things that happened that I'll share separately. I've been gone from that house for 25 years and every time I have a nightmare, it's there. Second event. Saved by an unseen force. I was around the age of 17. The house we had built was just a large block and rebar square with interior wood and sheetrock divisions. The kitchen and living room in front, 2 bedrooms in the back. Our house was at the bottom of a large hill and we had always talked about the possibility of a car somehow crashing into the back of the house for one reason or another. On this day, early on the morning, one such car that was parked 2 blocks up and 1 block to the side up on this hill popped its gear and rolled down directly into the center of the back of our house. The sound I heard is indescribable and horrendous. I was pulled by my arms out of my bed into the kitchen where I opened my eyes and ran back into my bedroom where the wheel of some large 80s model sedan was bobbing up and down 3 inches above my pillow. I quickly checked my parents who were just getting up, brushing cement and concrete powder off of themselves in disbelief. They were fine. The majority of the car was on my side of the house and it was stopped from completely entering the house by a long string of wire-tied rebar. The car hit the house so hard it flung the large blocks of cement clear across the room centimeters above my parents' sleeping faces. I can still hear that horrendous sound and the feeling of multiple fragments flying around my head as I was pulled by my arms, eyes closed, awoken from a dead sleep, into the kitchen, but by whom? Third event. Something peeking at me from the bathroom. This happened in my childhood home. It was a very old house. It had a lot of history since there are still literal bullet holes from the war in the walls of some of the older parts. Just to give you an idea of our floor plan, my bedroom is just to the right of a screen door leading to the bathroom. So when you go in or out of the bedroom, you always have a peek at the screen door. Whenever I come out of our bedroom, I always see a shadow peeking at me from that screen door. Nothing malevolent, it just always looks like someone is standing just to the side of that door on the other side, and leaning into it so it could peek into the other parts of the house. I can only see it through peripheral vision, and it looks like a grown man. Whenever I turn my head to look directly at it, it doesn't just disappear. It hides to the side behind the screen door. Physically hides so I won't see it, like it was caught doing something it wasn't supposed to. This has happened more than once, and that's what it always does. Just peeking in. Some of my siblings have mentioned to me that they've seen it, before I even brought it up to them. So I know it's not just me. I don't investigate whenever I see it hide to the side, because that's what people in horror movies usually do before they get killed off. I don't know what it is, but compared to the other things we've experienced, it seems to be the less creepier inhabitant of our house. Fourth event. Someone giggled and it sure as heck wasn't me. This is my first time posting here, so bear with me if it's anticlimactic. But I've told this story to a couple of close friends, and they found it super freaky, so I thought I'd share here. I've always been a heavy sleepwalker, but I generally know when I'm doing it. Think a vague inclination that I should be laying down, but I know I'm not. I also have a tendency to have sleep paralysis without the paralysis. So I see everything but can still move. One night I settled into bed quite early to get some sleep. It can take me a bit to finally fall asleep, but once I'm there, I'm out. So I laid there, letting my mind wander, when all of a sudden, I heard the sound of a girl laughing from the corner of my room. It was almost a giggle, as if I had said something mischievous. It lasted a mere 2 seconds. But it was enough to startle my eyes wide open. Keep in mind, there is a dresser in the corner with no space for anyone. I shot up for a second, and being the ridiculous person I am, said aloud, "Oh hell no. Not today, demon." I double-checked to make sure I was truly awake and that I hadn't dreamt this. I did not. I wasn't even tired. It happened years ago and has not since. But I still often wonder who or what I heard in the corner of my room that night. To add a tiny bit more meat to the story, on my dresser in that corner is a porcelain doll. Make that what you will.
Thanks for watching the full video.